Hi guys, tomorrow is Hyrox London and I was all set to go to this event and absolutely smash my time out of the park. However, fate intervened. 19 days ago I was at the gym doing one of my more intense sessions, and towards the end of it I hurt my back doing something quite normal and regular that I do in the gym, wall balls. So a few days passed after that, and I was getting more pain and stiffness and difficulty with my mobility, and it was suddenly the alarm bell started to go. I might not make my event, which was a couple of weeks down the line. I thought, oh God, I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to be one of those guys that has to sell his ticket. However, as the days passed, I started to think to myself, maybe I could get to the start line if I act now and work on my rehabilitation exclusively until that event. So this video is about that journey from sort of making those initial decisions all the way through to right now. And at the end of this video you'll see if I make it or not. I don't know. It's still a little bit up in the air. Anyway, enjoy the video guys. See you at the end. Hi guys, I'm in trouble. 5 days ago I did this at the gym. Yep, I hurt my back doing something I do all the time, wall balls. Now, it was an hour-long WOD, and there was no sign that it was going to happen. I was just doing reps, and at about 30, 35 reps in, boing, there was a massive shearing pain at the lumbar part of the bottom of my back, and I couldn't continue. Went home in agony. Woke up next day in agony. So a good 5 days on from when I did the initial injury. Now the problem comes in the form that in 2 weeks time, on this very day, I will be at Hyrox London, or I intend to be, or I'd planned to be, or I'd paid to be. Most importantly, that's the kicker here, that I have £100 on the line and whatever it costs to get there and back. So I am adamant that I want to get there, but it got me thinking, right, so I've got this injury, it's stopping me picking things up off the ground, when I sit in a chair for too long, when I get out of bed, when I sit in the car, all of these things that have you in the sort of sitting position, or alternatively in the lying position for a prolonged period of time, has me seizing up, and it takes me a while to get going. Ultimately it feels like movement loosens it up during the day, only for it then to sort of set solid when I go still for a period of time, like working or sleeping. So it got me thinking, what can I do to try and help this situation? Now this isn't my first rodeo. This isn't the first time I've been injured, though I haven't been injured in a long time. I haven't been injured while I've been training for Hyrox, in fact. So it got me thinking, over all those times of all those injuries, I've purchased things to help with those relative injuries, and it's meant that I've accumulated quite a lot of gadgets and gizmos, potions and pills that can probably assist me right now. So I've been around my house and I've gathered them all together. I will edit some of that into this video, hoping that 2 weeks from now all of this stuff will have helped me get back to that Hyrox competition. "13 days left until Hyrox London. Today's Sunday, and this morning I woke up, my back was a little bit aching as I got out of bed, but it wasn't limiting my movement. Overall, my mobility is better. It's just that sort of pain. It has reduced down to very specifically the backbone now. So hopefully, with a bit more gentle treatment, heat, cold, light massage through my various gizmos and devices, as well as 3 or 4 sets of stretching a day, if I plateau and don't seem to get much more improvement, I think I'll then start to look at anti-inflammatory drugs, you know, the sort of top end of the ibuprofen range and that kind of thing, and just see how we go from there. So I'm at work Monday, 12 days to go, been to the chemist, get some anti-inflammatories. I'd like to feel like I'm doing something while I'm sat here at work, because there's not a lot else you can do for your back when you're sat at a desk all day long. 11 days away from Hyrox London. It's the Tuesday, got another weekend to go, another sort of set of weekdays, and then I'm there. My back injury, which is about 8 days old, is much less than it was on Friday. I've done nothing all weekend, just a little bit of walking around. I've resisted the urge yesterday to go train. I'd almost convinced myself that, you know, on the Stairmaster or something, low impact would be okay, but I erred on the side of caution and came straight home instead, even though I'd packed my gym bag. Now I start to get a little bit mindful now that I'm stepping outside of my routine, and I don't do well outside of my routine. I like to exercise frequently and regularly to a standard. You know, I like to get my heart rate up, I like to burn my calories, I like to know that I am contributing towards my calorie deficit each day. But when I step away from that, there's a couple of things happen. One, you're obviously burning much less calories, to the tune of several thousand calories a week. But also your sort of mental side. I don't like to bang the mental health drum, but that's what it kind of is. I've exercised since I was 16. It's programmed into me to do that, and a lot of people will be the same. The second they step away, through choice or through not choice, like I am, it starts to wear down your brain. And that's the best way to describe it. It's the angst and the anxiety that is generated by not training. So off the back of that, I then have to think about the food that I'm eating. I can no longer get away with consuming the same amount of calories that I might in any given week. I have to consume less, else that's going to start to have an immediate effect on my body. When you suddenly stop training and your calories remain you're training high calories, it starts to affect your body, and suddenly before you know it, the shape that you've worked so hard to gain over all those training sessions, over all those weeks and months and years, it goes so fast. It's tough because in addition to not training, you're also at home a lot more, surrounded by all of those things. So it's just very testing on your willpower. Alright guys, so midway point, a bit of a check-in. 11 days ago I hurt my back at the gym, doing something as fundamentally simple as wall ball, something I've done thousands of times. I've been to all the competitions, that's never bothered me before. It just went this day. Of all the crazy things my back has done in its time, all the deadlifting, or the car lifting, or the Atlas stones, or the log presses, all the ways I've contorted my back to lift ridiculous weight, and a 6 kilogram ball is the thing that has it pang. Yeah, it's mad. So after the flurry of trying to figure out what things might help me, all those various aids and things that I got at the beginning, I thought to myself, what else has sort of anti-inflammatory properties to sort of bring everything down? And the obvious choice there is the ice bath.
This is Wim Hoff.
I am the Iceman!
The cold submergence of the achy part into sort of really cold water will just reduce the swelling and inflammation. Great, that's what I need to do. So I went to the shops, bought 3 big bags of ice, threw them in the bath with cold water, got it down to about 9 degrees, did about 7.5 minutes, got out and I thought, wow, I actually do feel a lot better for doing that. I went to bed that night, everything sort of stiffened up again, but everything was noticeably reduced. So I made sort of a pledge then that I will take these ice baths every single day, leading right up to the event if I have to try and mitigate a lot of that sort of swelling and pain. And that was 4 days ago, right? So I've had 4 ice baths since, and they've actually really helped. There's a bit of anxiety when you're trying to get in the bath in the first place, a bit like, oh, but Jesus. For the most part, they're doing really well. And I don't need to like submerge myself up to here. I only really need to get my back in. So this is sort of what it looks like. Regular bath with a few ice cubes in, get down to 9 degrees, sit in it for 15 minutes. So that's what I did. The amount of time I was in, I started to make my ice in my own freezer. I meant clearing off a bit of space, using a load of ice cube trays, all that. And now I'm doing it every day. It's a bit of a pain because you get cold and it's a bit uncomfortable, but it's worth it if my back is ready in time. So that's my plan. I'm going to do that. Fingers crossed, on the current trajectory, I should be pain-free and completely fine by 8 days' time, which is when Hyrox London is. The plan for me, I haven't trained any, by the way. It's, all of last week was a complete write-off, and all of next week would have been what I would have considered my taper week, and I'm still going to have to think of it that way. Tomorrow I'm going to go and do a park run in the morning, just to get a feel that if my running is fine. It should be fine. In the early days, foot strikes were hurting my back. Just hitting the ground, it just sending a bit of a shock up. But enough time has passed and these ice baths have really helped, so hopefully I can muddle my way through a park run. That will give me a bit more confidence that my running at least is still there. And then I'll come home, do an ice bath. Oi, oi. So today I'm at Market Bosworth Parkrun. I'm here, first run in about 2 weeks, and first any kind of session of any kind in about 10 days. And it's mainly about just checking to see if the back is going to hold. Now I'm not going to go very fast, I'm going to really take it easy. It's just about seeing if I can get around. I can still feel it ever so slightly. It's not painful, but it's there's an awareness in my lumbar. Okay, just finished Market Bosworth Parkrun. The idea was I was going to take it easy, maybe even run with Holly, but my easy is a bit faster than Holly's. So I got 6th today in about 23 minutes, which isn't particularly fast for me. So I guess I did hit my criteria. I came here a few weeks back and ran it at my fastest and only came 4th. So that's not too bad. It was nice because I was able to catch a few people up and overtake. So that satisfied my competitiveness a little bit. But my back, most importantly my back, I could feel it all the way around. It wasn't painful, just tight. So big ice bath later, which having been out in the rain and cold now is not very desirable. Okay, today is Sunday. I have 6 days left before Hyrox London. For the last 6 days I have been engaging in ice baths, or baths with ice in them. I don't own one of these sexy modern pod things that you keep in your garden. I simply fill up my bathtub with cold water, freeze a load of ice cubes and chunks of ice in my freezer, as many as I can, throw it all in and try and sit in it for 15 to 20 minutes a day. That's got to be nearly 15 minutes. Oh my gosh. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, okay. Oh, 13. 1 more minute. 13, 15. 1 more minute. Now, I am no advocate for the ice bath. I hate it. I hate everything about getting into an ice bath, but I have to appreciate what it's doing for me. Right, about a week or so ago when I was trying to figure out which treatments would be best to help this kind of injury that I've got, the same thing kept coming up and up again. Use cold to reduce the inflammation. And the best way to do that is, certainly on a back injury, is to submerge your back, which is, you know, complete submergence in a bathtub. So that's what I did. I started to do it. I started off with 7 minutes and I've worked my way up to 20. And I've been doing them every day, and I'll likely do them all the way up to Friday before Hyrox London. So generally just fill the bathtub up, load of ice in, and get in. It's as simple as that, really. And you don't have to look very far on the internet. You don't have to look very far for medical proof and research that's been done into cold water treatment. There's loads out there. I'm not going to get into that right now, but put very simply, and the bits that I'm most interested in are on this diagram here. The middle says benefits of ice bathing. This one says faster resolution of soft tissue injuries. Yes, let's have some of that, please. Reduces fatigue, lowers the risk of injury. Oh yes, yes, yes please. And treats muscle soreness and strain and inflammation. Yes, yes, get in my basket, I'll buy some of that. So that's in my mind every single time I turn the taps on and fill the bath up and force myself into that stupid cold water. That's in my mind. This is helping me. This is helping me get better. This will get me to the start line. So I bet a few of you are wondering, why have you not gone to see a physiotherapist or a sports masseuse or a specialist of some description? A few reasons. The first of which is time. From injury to event, 19 days. So not a lot of time to sort of squeeze physiotherapy appointments in, certainly with work and everything else. The next is cost. I couldn't do it free on the NHS because it would take too long, and simply throw money at physiotherapists, I'd likely get 1-2 sessions in. Not much would have changed from doing so. And finally, I do believe that with sort of minor injuries, we have a responsibility to ourselves to try and figure them out and fix them ourselves. Like if you cut your finger, you don't go to hospital, you put a plaster on it, don't you? And I have been injured a few times over the years. I've done lots of different training styles. I've hurt my shoulder and my back, my knees, everything. I've hurt everything at some point or another. And the times when I have sought additional help, certainly from physio side of things, it's quite clear that there is diagnostically 2 tools that they use quite frequently, and that is process of elimination and trial and error. Now this is used quite widely in medical diagnostics, and I've seen this a few times, none more so than when they were trying to figure out what was wrong with my son when he was born. It took them ages to figure it out, and that's because they were applying the trial and error and process of elimination. And the same thing happens with physiotherapy. They're never going to be able to figure out exactly what's wrong with you straight out of the gate. They will use their very best educated guess based upon manipulation and observation. And you can get steered down a number of potential treatment options, but with sort of soft tissue injuries, you generally get put down the rest, ice, exercise and stretches before sort of getting back to normal. And that's quite common, but that normally takes multiple sessions over many weeks, depending on the severity of the injury. So again, time. I don't have enough time. I think the best metaphor I can sort of throw out there for this particular scenario is if you've got a car and it's got a squeak, and you take it to, say, a mechanic and say, my car's got a squeak, can you make it stop please? And the mechanic goes, well, tell me a little bit more about your squeak. When does it happen? You say, when I'm driving over 60 miles an hour in 5 degrees temperature. And he can go away and he can replace bits, and he can listen for the sound and the squeak. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Eventually, he will find the thing that's making the squeak and fix it. That's exactly what's going on with my back. My back is the squeak in this metaphor, and I am a 43-year-old car. So yeah, absolutely, like this, I have the greatest respect for people in the sort of physiotherapy game or the sports masseuse game. You guys do wonderful work, and if my injury persists much longer than a month, maybe 6 weeks, then I will be seeking guidance and help from those professions. So today is Thursday. That means I only have Friday tomorrow to do anything at all, or nothing at all, before Hyrox London. Everything has gone as well as I could possibly have expected. My pain and discomfort has reduced right down, and the stiffness in my back is still there at times and not there at others. Obviously, by the time I get to the event, another maybe 36 hours will have passed, so it's still a little bit on tenterhooks. Like, you know, it could go either way. I could find myself going through the event just fine. I could find myself getting to the burpees and something go terribly wrong. Either way, I've made the commitment to go to the event. I've made every effort to rehabilitate myself. And I've been just thinking today back over my journey over the past couple of weeks. And I was thinking about it in the cars, as I often do. And I compare it against, I like to make metaphors out of quite a lot of things, but this particular one reminds me of the scene from Superman. Now, I compare just about all the people that take part in Hyrox as like having superpowers, because compared to regular people, they do. They have an elevated level of fitness against sort of the regular Joes out there. And if, like me, you've trained for a long time and you become accustomed to having that level of fitness, it is like you're Superman just flying around regular people all day long. Now, when you get an injury, and injuries do happen, they can happen at any time to anyone, no matter how good you are at all of this fitness stuff, it's like those powers are immediately taken away from you. Like, suddenly, you're like Superman when he gives up his powers for Lois Lane. He goes into that sort of ice chamber, pops out, leaves Superman in there, and he's just a regular Joe. So him and Lois Lane drive down the road, and within about 5 minutes he finds himself in a diner, and almost immediately finds himself in a fight with a hillbilly, which he loses. So in this particular metaphor, Hyrox is that hillbilly coming to kick my ass, and I'm desperately trying to find my superpowers so I can return and slide him down the counter at the end. And when he does that, he turns around to the waitress and says, "I've been working out."
Well, I've been working out.
And I like that sort of tie-in. It's a good metaphor. Anyway, so yeah, I've got 36 hours and I'm there. Alright, before I sign off on this video, I want to touch briefly on some of the other things that I felt had a benefit to me throughout this 3-week process. Now, while I touched on ice baths quite a lot in this video, they are not singularly responsible for my back getting better. No, it was a combination of things. In addition, I was doing daily exercises. Right at the start, I sort of sought out a few different videos for lower back pain, injury, exercise, stretch routines from physiotherapy YouTube channels. And out of the ones that were presented, I went through a few as they are, and then as the days went on, I picked out the various stretches and exercises that seemed to do that part of the back or affect my injury the most. So I would find myself doing those twice a day, maybe 7 or 8 different exercises, some on my hands, some on my back, and I would do this when I got up and before bed. As well as some of the gizmos that featured at the beginning, the vibrating and sort of massaging ones. I started to lean away from those after the first few days. As nice as they feel, I didn't feel that they were having a direct sort of benefit to the injury. One thing that really did, I couldn't really have done without, was that I've got a little soft heating mat, and that's really sort of warms up, and it's flexible and can fit on a chair, a sofa. You can use it in bed. Other things that I did throughout this last few weeks was I slept with a pillow under my back or between my knees, depending on which way I slept. I got a lumbar support for my chair at work. I was using the ibuprofen gel on my spine and spine area down on the bottom of my back 2 or 3 times a day. And I was using rollers and things like that. I was standing here in the doorway of this office. Every time I pass, I pick up the roller, go up and down the wall a few times, because it just felt good to do so. So when approaching how you can handle recovering from an injury like this, don't just think of it as attacking it from one particular perspective. Think inside out, think outside in. Think about all the different potential ways that you can apply good and positive change. It could be a product, it could be an exercise, it could be a behaviour, it could be a supplement. There's so many different ways that you can affect the same part of the body, and that's what I've been trying to do, certainly with this video, is to explain that you can do all of these things sort of simultaneously to sort of try and speed things along a bit. Now, arguably, if I'd done nothing, would I still be sat here in this exact same position? We'll never know. Alright guys, I'm going to try and tie this up with a summary of what I'm going to do tomorrow when I get to the event. I'm going to go to the event, I'm going to take a couple of painkillers, ibuprofen before I start. I'm going to do extra warm-up on my back, extra stretches to make sure it's really warmed up well. And then when I get to the first of the danger zones, which is the burpees, I've got to take great care when I get up. If I survive the burpees and get all the way around to the wall balls, which is the one thing that broke my back in the first place, I'm going to ask for a box, so I don't go lower than I absolutely have to on each rep. Hopefully doing all of these things will get me to the end. If they get me to the end, I will be amazed, I will be elated, and I will have a really big drink that evening. Now, the rest of this video will be picked up in my general race day video from London. So if you're interested to see how I got on, please check that out after you've done this one. If you've not given the channel a subscribe yet, please do so. It really helps me and motivates me to continue making content. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see some of you at London. Alright, take it easy. Mart out.